Hit its legs for 2 times, run away, dodge the fires, hit its legs for 2 times again, run away, repeat that for 10 minutes, and kill the boss. By the way, if you mess it up, you will die instantly. Dealing with tons of rats in a small room or dealing with a few rats and a giant rat at the same time? Which one would you prefer? My choice would be none of them. They are not bosses, they are just simple enemies with boss health bars. Belfry Gargoyles are clearly the reskins from Dark Souls 1, but they are much worse. This boss has like 2 attacks or something, so there isn't anything to talk about. It was a huge disappointment for me that one of the most important characters in the game had such a bad fight. All you have to do is watch his sword because he only swings it in 2 styles, and they called this a boss fight. Same as Vendrick. Such an important character, but with a horrible fight. At least he has a very unique and good theme song. These 3 fights have something in common. They had the potential to be good if they were not a duo or trio. Not to mention that you have to run through all the frigid outskirts every time you die to Lud and Zallen. Except for the lore, there is nothing interesting about these fights. I don't have too much to say about them. Skeletons in the Executioner fight and that hole in the old Iron King fight are really annoying. And there isn't anything special about others, but they are not the worst bosses in the game. They are definitely not good fights, especially the Guardian Dragon, but they are still better than some of those in the game. These guys are not as annoying as the other duo fights. But still, they are not one of my favorites. Hitboxes in this fight feel weird, other than that, it's not a bad boss. I thought this boss was impossible to beat until I realized I could dry the poison out. If there wasn't the poison, I would give her 6, not 4.5. Smelter demons are better than Dragonrider, but both Smelter demons have terrible runbacks, which makes the fight less enjoyable. They are all enjoyable fights, but if they were in newer games, they would be much better because they demand quick combat, which Dark Souls 2 can't give you. 2 great DLC bosses. Elena is a good fight, but if she summons Velstadt, it makes the fight a bit frustrating. Both were great fights. The only reason that Darklurker is that low despite being a great fight is because of her runback. And for the Looking Glass Knight, the player summons. But I must admit that Looking Glass Knight has a gorgeous-looking arena. It was a terrible final boss. But it's still one of the best fights in the game. I think they overdid the curse thing. It can be very annoying sometimes. It was a great dragon fight. Though I don't think it is the best dragon in the series. He is such a cool boss. Best fight in the base game for me. He could have been better, but at least he has 2 phases. He is a good boss. He has a very good theme song and arena. But his grab attack hitbox is a joke. And he feels too rapid for Dark Souls 2 combat. Everything except for the first phase of this fight is perfect. Great arena, theme song, lore, and a fun second phase. The first phase lasts longer than phase 2, it should be the exact opposite so we can enjoy the fight more. In my opinion, he is the best and hardest boss in the game. He would even be at least 9 out of 10 if he was in the newer games. He has 2 very good phases and a fun fight. But hitboxes are terrible in this fight. Let me show you an example of how those terrible hitboxes helped me.